Hi, welcome back to Design Your Destiny with your host, Tony Buchanan. And Happy New Year, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great start to their 2025. So I want to complete the part two of my discussion from the very last podcast I did before the new year. I was in discussion speaking specifically about uh, marriage and relationships and Greco-Roman culture is where I left off. And I wanted to kind of explain what is Greco-Roman culture, you might say. Now, I'm not referring to the art and the uh, what happened during the time period. Just to be clear, the Greco-Roman culture and the reason why we combined it because the Greeks and the Romans had a lot of similarities, right? In their beliefs and what they did. Even their gods had it was the same structure. The gods just had different names. The Greco-Roman culture started around 332 BC, but the Greco-Roman culture had such a huge influence on the world that we live in today. Not only here in America, but around the globe and around the world and in London, England, and America kind of sets the pace for what's next. We can see that all over the world. We saw that in the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century. If Americans had guns and ammo, and the Americans and in London, England, or England, and they had all these new inventions, right? The steam engine and factories. So the world wanted to catch up with what America and what Great Britain was doing. So the Greco-Roman culture in that way has influenced our culture up to date. I was talking about the marriage dynamic, especially in the Black community, but it has diminished on a whole. Marriage is no longer popular in Western culture like it was before. In different other parts of the world, like Sri Lanka and the Middle East and places like that, they have a very low divorce rate because the value of marriage is sacred, and they do believe that it's not only something that they have to do to keep their rate to continue their race. It's also religious and ceremonial, just deep connections, how they feel about marriage. Um, but the world has taken on, and especially in the Black community, Greco-Roman culture. I want to talk about how it has impacted the Black community in a negative way, right? Um, when you talk about sex relationships in the Greco-Roman culture, their thoughts on sex was more about dominance and submission. Henceforth, dominatrix, right? If you all are familiar with dominatrix, it's about submission and power. So sex was about prosperity, it was about wealth. The mindset of it was totally different in Greco-Roman era. Men did marry. Of course, women of certain social class, higher sex social classes, did not sleep around, right? They did save themselves for marriage. Not all women did, but some did. But the essence was a little bit different, especially with the men. They could have slaves or concubines that they would sleep with, male or female, and they would have a mate or a woman that they were married to at home. So this is kind of transitioned to our world today, not only in as far as sex and relationships. Think about the colleges, HBCUs, and universities. You know where I'm going. Phi Beta, the Alphas, the AKAs, Phi Beta Sigmas, the Q Dogs, Omega Psi Phi, Greek fraternities, right? So you hear Black say, I'm a Greek. So it started in which most of the universities and colleges were founded by either Masons or Freemasons or priests or pastors. It's only a few Black colleges that were actually established by someone that was Black. Most people don't know that. So the Greco-Roman culture has is that's the way that it's moving. They're moving the needle. It starts in the universities, and people don't realize it because it's so subtle. And they focus on the good of the fraternities. Yes, they do a lot of good. If you graduate and you're a Delta, you don't have to worry about a job. You don't have to worry about certain things if you are a Delta or you're an Alpha. So they tell the young people, you're associated with these things, right? So all those things are great. But when you think about the Greco-Roman culture and the marriage today, when you think about swingers and you think about people like Will and Jada, Will and Jada Smith, it's been rumored that they have an open marriage. Well, they've said themselves they have an open marriage, and Jada's attracted to women, Will is attracted to men. They say that he sleeps with men and women, and she sleeps with a man, in the marriage. They both have, last year it came out about her sleeping with August Alsina, and while they're still married, and they don't plan on divorcing, but they are involved in an open marriage relationship. Monique, the comedian and actress, is also in open relationships. She's stated that her and her husband bring other people into their bedroom, and they have an open marriage. Right? That's Greco-Roman culture. Ronnie DeVoe and Shamari talked about at one point they tried the open marriage situation, but it was disastrous for them. Because they couldn't handle the jealousy and all the other things that came with it. So they decided to, go back to their roots of Christianity and the church, and now they are in the marriage ministry, their church. So they talk about how it almost ruined their lives and their marriage. Um, Open marriage is no more than Greco-Roman culture. So that's what that is. I want to also talk about uh, the competition in the relationships today. It seems to be an issue with competition, especially in the relationships. The female wants to be dominant or she wants to demasculate the male. And we see a lot of this today. And I believe that's one of the reasons why the divorce rate is so high, because men need respect and women need security. Men need to be respected in a specific certain way, and they need to be celebrated at home. If they're not celebrated in their home, they will go somewhere where they're celebrated. They Even if they're wrong or they did something, that was not good, or maybe they were lying or cheating or whatever. Um, in the relationship, in the marriage, if the woman is the person who has taken on that role and she's very in her masculine frame, it's going to be very hard for that marriage or that relationship to be successful in a sense. Now, we do have some marriages, of course, where they say the women wear the pants, and that's because the males have allowed the woman to take on that role. Those are called beta males. And the woman, of course, is an alpha female. They've allowed her to take on that role, and they've kind of settled with that. But some men will not settle with that. And they would, it's going to be a tug of war. It's going to be a push and a pull, is what we call it, the back and the forth for control, and in a sense becomes competition. And so that's one of the major issues I see of today with relationships, especially in the Black community, but it's really in all races today, not just in the Black community. And so the demasculation of males started, if we can go back, oh my God, the 15th, 16th century, when you think about slavery, the institution of slavery, when the Portuguese introduced the slave trade, and whenever that male would try to buck up or go against their master, quote unquote master at the time, it would be issues because they would have to, beat him or try to restrain him or put him in a hole, or not give him food to break him, is what they would call it. They just like, you say you break a horse, they would call it buck breaking. But to be specific, buck breaking is when they allow another male to rape that slave, is what they call buck breaking. And that would bring him into, supposedly was to bring him into submission. And they would do it a lot of times in front of his children and his wife. to get him to submit. So also comes from Greco-Roman culture, butt breaking. So that's a horrible thing. But the other thing is, we have to talk about what's been in the news lately with P. Diddy, and what happened with R. Kelly, the Epsteins, and several people have been arrested, very well-known names, and alleged being charged with sex trafficking and things of that nature. This is something that we believe has been taught to that R. Kelly learned, and Diddy and many others have been involved in this and still are involved in this. It just hasn't come to light yet. Um, the ritualistic thing of sleeping for days, these are sexual rituals in a way that you worship idol gods. Knocking sex magic is one of the words when you're talking about specifically when you're dealing with men, or when you're dealing with specifically the sodomy. Sodomy is the way, is what they call how they bring you into submission. Also, transfer of demons, a way to dominate you, bring you into their submission and their power. So sodomy is used in that way on males and females. So that's a ritualistic thing that was done, and was alleged. I heard them say that a lot of the tapes were very ritualistic that they had confiscated from the Diddy mansions. So R. Kelly was also involved in a lot of that, ritualistic type videos and just disturbing things that he done with the underage girls. So all these things are Greco-Roman culture, the Illuminati, all these different sects, the Freemasons, all these things. So I just want to take a moment to just bring awareness to what's happening, and also ask yourself, are you influenced by Greco-Roman culture? Is there a push and pull in your relationship? Are you struggling for dominance? Are you trying to understand your role, whether you're married or just if you're dating? So ask yourself that question. So thank you for watching today. If you want more information about Greco-Roman culture and how it's influenced relationships in the Black community, do hit me up. Let me know if you guys have questions or you want to know more. Thank you for watching Design Your Destiny. Have a good one. Bye-bye.